Welcome to the Savvy Working Mom Podcast. This is the place where we share strategies to help you create a life you love. I'm your host, Whitney, a real-life working mom in the tech industry, professional speaker, and coach. I'm going to help you figure out how to work and mom in a way that brings you joy by using simple systems and through interviews with other working moms who are making it work. Remember that with intentional and daily action, you can live your best days now and forever. Victoria Johnson, MD, is a physician in the practice of aesthetic medicine and has been in practice over 20 years. Her path to medicine was unconventional as she found her way out of an abusive marriage and then pursued her medical degree as a single mom. Today, Victoria is not just surviving, she is thriving while running a 2-story mega medical spa with over 40,000 patients and a staff of 20. Her daughter, Elena, who was 12 when Dr. Johnson started medical school, is now 45. Dr. Johnson resides in Oklahoma City, and when she's not working in the clinic, you can find her cheering for the Oklahoma City Thunder or biking around Lake Hefner. Her favorite food is a greasy burger. And I'm so excited to have her on the show.
Thank you, Whitney, and thank you for having me. This is exciting. I'm really excited. It's the first podcast I've ever done.
I'm so excited to have you on the show. I was thrilled to learn about your story of going through medical school as a single mother about 30-ish years ago, because I feel like during that time, there just wasn't a lot of support for moms. And in my head, medical school is extremely intense. So the idea of doing something so intense while also raising a teenager, I can't imagine the trials and tribulations that you had to go through. And I know that you went through whatever trouble came your way, whatever challenges came your way, and came out on the other side in an amazing and inspirational way because of the business and the practice that you have today, as well as because the deep and wonderful relationship that you have with your daughter today. And I think that's what, for me, is the end game. It's having this amazing career and also having a great relationship with my kids. My kids are 3 and 5, right? And I hope I can get to that place when they are in their 40s. So I'm going to stop talking and turn it over to you with the first question, which is, what led you to want to go to medical school while also having a teenager?
Well, I didn't have any college until I was about 28, and I was really restless and I needed some guidance. So I went into prayer and I just asked the Lord, I've got to do something with my life. I'm a housewife in Tupelo, Mississippi. I've got nothing going on. So my sister was at Ole Miss and I went to visit her and something just grabbed my heart. And so I had to get school loans, which was the first year that anyone would loan a single or a married woman money to go to school. It was the first year. I didn't even know that.
What year was that?
It was 1988. I don't know if it was specific to Mississippi, but I think it was all over because my husband would never give me money to go to school. And so, but they were like, no, this opened up. Anyway, so I went to undergrad. I was failing the middle of the first semester. And I was just like, okay, Lord, you told me that I was going to be good at this. And so anyway, I got tutors and different things. And I found out I was smart. And so as I went through and I ended up doing really well in undergrad, and then I continued to ask the Lord for the path, and it just fell into my lap to go to medical school. And I hit all the deadlines for the testing. And even if I didn't have classes or something, it just all came together. I mean, the Lord was just fabulous. It all came together. My daughter was wonderful at that point. When I got into medical school, it was really difficult. I mean, because you just study nonstop. And, I had her, I needed to take care of her, which she was great and she studied, but then we would have time that, okay, we're going to the movies today. We're going to go to lunch and a movie and let her choose, or, we're going to watch this movie and have popcorn in the evening. So we always had a structured, okay, this is the time we're going to get back together. You have to go to school. I have to go to school. We have to study, but we're going to have a structured time, whatever that meant, that you and I are together, because the most important thing to me is my daughter, period, in life. And as I was going through, I would not let go. I would not let go because I knew I was the only way that she was going to be supported. And I wanted her to have a better life than I had and not have to wife in Tupelo with nothing going on. So anyway, I was so driven, and I wouldn't let go. And, I went through everything, and she was a teenager and acted like a teenager. And we had our ups and downs, but mostly it was ups. And when we did have our down times, at least we had a good relationship that we could talk through things, when she was going through things, dating or, whatever it was. And, it was just, there was no resources for a single mom at all. So we just made it up as we went.
I mean, you made it up as you went because it sounds like there weren't at that time, especially, a lot of people to look to who had already gone down this path, right? If you came into this the first year that women could get their own loans, right? There was no one else to look to say like, hey, mama, how did you do it, right? You were really pioneering and forging a way forward.
Yes, I was. And there was a lot of, I was a young woman and, in a man's world. And so you just have to keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, especially at that time. I mean, I would never do that now, but at the time I had to. And so, just whatever I had to do to get through. And my pre-med advisor, was so overwhelmed at one point and, all these classes I had to take, then get into medical school. She said, Victoria, how do you eat an elephant? And it was one bite at a time. And so I've always thought about that. I was like, okay, don't get overwhelmed. Don't get overwhelmed. Let's make a path, write this down. I love yellow pads. So I got yellow pads everywhere with, what I'm going to do. So I don't get overwhelmed. I have it planned out,
I'm hearing two things that really jump out to me about how you were able to go through medical school, which is in and of itself extremely intense, and then also raise a teenage girl, which in and of itself is also extremely intense, right? And the two things that are jumping out, one is having a plan and then just taking action on that plan one step at a time. And the other is having structure in your day. So let's talk about the structure in the day, because I think that's something that everyone can benefit from, is having a little bit more structure in our day, because structure ultimately, I think, leads to successful outcomes. And so I'd love to hear more about how you went about the scheduling, right? It sounds like you kind of base the scheduling first on, okay, my daughter has to be at school during these hours, right? Mm-hmm. And then from there, what did you do? How did you make decisions about what to put on the paper? And then also, was it actually paper? Did you have a calendar? Did you have an agenda? Like, where were you taking all these notes? How were you sharing this information with your daughter or others so that they knew where you needed to be or where they needed to be and at what time?
The refrigerator. Everything went on the refrigerator. This is what my mom did. She had 6 kids. And so she would just say, okay, this week, and it's on the refrigerator. If you've got a problem with it, you go talk to the refrigerator. And so I thought that was so cute. So I did that with my daughter. So we literally just had like a weekly plan. And, I drop her off here. I pick her up here. She's got her lunch money or whatever it is. She needs to go to soccer. So I need to pick her up, get her there. And, we just had this all on the refrigerator. So there was no question on who was going to be where, what. And because it was just the two of us, I didn't want her to be afraid, that mom wasn't going to be there. Gosh, what if mom doesn't show up? Or, I'm like, no. The refrigerator says that mom will be there at, 3:00 or whatever it is. And it calmed her down, it gave her, this is structure. We have structure.
Yeah, that's great. Did you ever have a time where, for example, she needed to be at soccer, but medical school was competing with that time in the day?
Yes. And that happened a few times, not very often. And I don't know why, because it could have happened constantly. But there was always like another soccer mom or, whatever she was into, mostly soccer, that would pick her up and bring her home for me or bring her to the house and watch her until I got home. But also my professors, a lot of them were really okay with, I got to go for 30 minutes. I mean, you couldn't abuse it, but there were some times that I just had to go, and that was it. So it worked out,
That's great. So what I'm hearing is that, one, you were willing to and open to getting help and support from others, right? From the other soccer parents, soccer moms. And the other is that you were really able to advocate for yourself to your professors, right? To the higher powers and say, hey, I need this 30 minutes so that I can get my daughter. And then asking for what you need, you got it.
And like I said, you don't want to abuse those privileges because it's still medical school. It's just really structured. But yeah, I just really had some really good professors. And then also my best friend, Joan, she's all in the book. And she had 2 sons that were teenagers as well. And she was a single mom. So we could help each other, especially if we had to study. We studied a lot together, but we would bring food or whatever. We just tried to help each other with the scheduling with her sons, my daughter. It helped. It helped a lot.
So finding someone that you can lean on who maybe is in a similar situation where you're supporting each other helped you to get through medical school and raising a teenage daughter.
And raising a teenager, yes. And she had 2 boys, but they're teenagers. And it was hard, really hard. But we made it through. And I just am so grateful and so thankful, that my daughter, she did great, and she took it upon her. She took a lot of things upon herself, which I didn't really like. But I think in the end, she's a lot more responsible person for it because she knows that I was doing the best I could, and she was doing the best she could. And she got her first job. She got, I think, 16 working for a Chinese restaurant because she wanted to help out, and she knew if she wanted, clothes or something else, she's going to have to help mom be able to buy it before. So then after I graduated and got my business and everything, she didn't have anything she wants, I'm just like, but she doesn't abuse it. I mean, she's really good, but she's very successful in her own right as well. But yeah, we made it through without killing each other. That was a big one.
That is an important part. Everybody came out the other end alive because you've had time to reflect, right, with your daughter being 45 now. That time that you went through where you had to say no to her, you couldn't just give her anything that she wanted, where you had to have structure and time and a budget, that all those things maybe in the moment felt frustrating or not exactly how you wanted to be living, but they created a world where your daughter now is a stronger, thriving adult because of it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We would go to the grocery store and we would have, X number of dollars. It wasn't a whole lot, but we had it all planned out and we had a calculator and, we got all the cheap bargain brands and everything. But every once in a while, if I got a little extra check or money or something, her big thing was buying it. To me, it was expensive cereal, like Captain Crunch, name brand cereal instead of the off brands. And that would be her treat, and so she would get, whatever she wanted. But it was just that little thing. And I thought to myself, one day, it's not going to be like this. But right now it is, and we're going to get through it, and we're doing fine. There's nothing wrong with us right now. We're doing great. The rent's paid this month. We've got groceries for the week. And we've got our schedule on the refrigerator. You can't look too far down the road. You just have to stay and work where you are.
One thing that you said just really resonated with me about the grocery store. When I was younger, I grew up, we were on welfare, pretty tough upbringing financially. And I remember when I was in my mid to late 20s, my corporate career had really kind of started taking off, going to the grocery store and buying groceries and checking out and realizing I didn't check the price of anything.
Yes.
Yes. That's what I thought to myself. I made it. I'm a real adult.
Yay.
Yes. I can go to the grocery store and I don't have to worry about the cost of the cereal or the cost of the cheese. It's so true. It's funny how those little things though really shape who you are as you grow.
Yeah. And my daughter, she had the calculator. She'd be like, Mom, no, we only have this much left. And, so we put that back. Okay, let's do, get this one over here. It was a good bonding thing. It really was. And she's very responsible and manages her money well. And so I'm just like, whatever it went through, yes, I had some guilt about it, but there was nothing else I could do about it. I just had to keep going forward because in the end, I will be able to support myself and my daughter and not just barely squeaking by. We're going to do good. And that's what happened. But you have to go through the path. I mean, you have to go through what you have to go through to get to that facade.
So it sounds like one of the things then that helped you go through all of that was really focusing on the end game and the end goal, even though it might have been years out, knowing where you were headed.
Yeah.
Did you have any specific visualization techniques that you did to help you stay focused on that end game?
My pre-med advisor, the one that told me about the elephant, she also said, Vicki, you're going to be 40. You might as well be 40 and a doctor. And when I graduated from residency, I turned 40. And, because I was a little bit later going to school. And I thought to myself, that was so smart. I mean, because it's like 10 years down the road or whatever, you're looking ahead. You're like, oh, how am I ever going to do this? But I'm going to be that age anyway. I might as well be a doctor.
I love that.
I just kept thinking about that. Every time I had a birthday, I was it's coming.
That's great. It is one of those things. I think I'm going to start saying that to myself. Hey, you're going to be 50, right? You're going to be 50. You might as well be 50 and X, right? Whatever it is that I want.
Whatever it is, yes. And I still say that now. I just turned 65 last week, but I still am like, okay, by the time I'm 70, I want to have this. Or by the time I'm 66, I want to have it. I still have those goals. You're not done yet,
Yeah. What a powerful statement. When it comes to your goals, what is your process for goal setting?
I have my goal setting for my office and my clinic. And so I have my two main girls and we meet every week and we go through, what's our goal this week? What are we going to sell? What are we going to do? And I have that, but then I have at home with my husband, we have our travel schedule. Then I have my workout schedule, I have my trainer. And so I try to keep everything real scheduled, just schedule everything. And this morning it was too cold. We swim every day. And this morning it was a little too cold. So we didn't, but I missed that because I like that structure, and then I have all these goals and everything. And mostly I just put it out there, just like, okay, this is what I want. Okay. Show me what I have to do to do it. And it just comes. Whatever I have to do just kind of comes to my head. And okay, that's the way to go.
What I'm hearing is you kind of dare to dream those big dreams, right? You dare to say, here's what I want, no matter how big and crazy it is, even if you're a single mom and you want to be a doctor.
Exactly. That's insane. That would never happen. Yeah, but it did.
But it did, and it happened. Now you have a thriving practice, right? And so you put that big goal out there. And then when you realize what the steps are to take, take, and you just take them. You're like, you just do it.
You just do it. I would tell people, just jump. Just do it. Even if it's wrong, just do something. You can always back up and go the other way. Most of the time, if you're that driven and you have a goal and it's just burning and you just jump. Just do it.
No reason not to.
And I just, every time my husband screamed or yelled at me or, you'll never make it, you're stupid, whatever it was, I just didn't listen. I just kept my mind focused on what I was going to be focused, and I was going to be 40 and a doctor.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, a very powerful anchor statement. I'm going to be 40 and a doctor, and that's it. And that's going to get me through.
Yep.
So one of the things that you said, you're 65 now, is that right? So you're 65 now and an author. You just released a book.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about the book?
So I've had my clinic for almost 22 years, and predominantly women, but I have some men too. But I do a lot of counseling, because if you come into a practice of plastic surgery or aesthetic practice, they're unhappy with something, a wrinkle here or whatever, but why are you really here? So I get to talk to patients, and I've had so many experiences that I can usually relate. And a lot of times, patients will just break down. I'm a doctor, and so they feel comfortable and tell me the most gosh awful things sometimes, or a lot of times, and they'll be like, "Oh, Dr. Johnson, you can't relate. I'm embarrassed to tell you." And I'm like, "Oh, I can relate." So, and people are like, "Well, how did you get here? How did you do this? How did you do this?" And I thought to myself, well, I don't know how I did it. I don't know. I just did it one day at a time. And so I thought, well, I'm going to start writing it down. Well, then I started, and it went and it went and it went and it went. And I thought, okay, somebody is going to like this. Somebody is going to pick up some pearls from this. And, all the stuff I had to go through, I hope it helps somebody else say, I can do it, and don't give up. Just jump.
I love that. Just jump. I think some of the most important things that I've heard you say, or at least the things that I think have been most impactful to me, are when you're 40, you're going to be X, right? No matter what, you're going to be 40, so you might as well be X anyway. I think that's a super powerful statement. I'm also taking away the idea of having structure in your day, right? Creating that structure.
Oh, yeah.
And then just leaning into it and following. If you said, I'm going to do this, and it's on the calendar, if the refrigerator says, then so it is.
We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Yeah. I've got my yellow pad right here. This is what I'm doing today.
And make it happen.
People are like, once you use your calendar, I'm like, what's right here? Here it is.
Yeah. And then daring to dream the big dreams, right? Even if you've never seen anyone do it before, like be a single mom and a doctor and get their own loan when women couldn't get loans previously, right? Just dare to dream and then go after it. Just jump. With that, I want to ask you one last thing, which is there any other advice that you would want another working mom to hear?
Whatever that dream is, write it down, and write it down several times a day and reflect on it, because what will come to you is how to do that. What's your next step? I'm going to be 40 and a doctor. Well, what do I got to do to get there? My daughter, I got to pay the rent, I got to do this, or I got to do that, all the things. But if they're all written down, it's not as scary, when you're going, and just don't give up. Don't, put blinders on, put earmuffs on, don't listen to anybody but your heart. Because in the end, when you're 40 or 65 and you look back, I don't want to look back and be sorry that I didn't do something. Because I have friends or my sisters or somebody, they're like, well, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? I don't know. But I don't want to regret not having gone for my dream, even now, because I have bigger dreams now. I'm an author. I've got other books coming, and it's like, I'm having so much fun, Yeah,
I can see it in your face. For those who can't see, Victoria's got like the best red lip, first of all, the best red lip.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and an amazing smile. And your eyes have just been lit up the whole time. So it's so great to talk to you, to hear how you have chased those big dreams and how they've come to fruition, right? Through the action that you take. And you did it all while raising a teenager, at least a foundation, while raising a teenager who you still have a great relationship with. That is so awesome.
Yeah. And just don't look at the time period. Don't look at how long it's going to take. Just do it. Like I said, I'm going to be 40 and a doctor. Whatever your dream is, it might take you 10, 15 years. Who cares? What else are you going to do?
What else are you going to do? Yeah, exactly. What else are you going to do? All right. So if anyone would like to find out more about Dr. Victoria Johnson and her journey, you can go to this website, trophywifetocosmeticsurgeon.com. trophywifetocosmeticsurgeon.com is the place to find out more about Dr. Johnson and her book. I really appreciate having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
That's all we've got for this episode of the Savvy Working Mom podcast. One thing that would really help both us and other potential listeners is for you to rate this show and leave a comment on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen in. Also, make sure to link up with us at thesavvyworkingmom.com and on Instagram at thesavvyworkingmom. And please just share this podcast with any other mama who you think might enjoy or benefit from it. Until next time, remember, with intentional and daily action, you can live your best days now and forever.